Hey everyone, my name is Penny Zanker, and it's time to reset. This podcast goes beyond just navigating change. It's about new ways of thinking about how you can approach challenges, how you can shift your mindset when needed, create some space and grace for yourself so that you can rethink, recharge, and reprioritize when and where needed. Are you ready to unlock your full potential? Thank you for hitting play and sharing this next episode with me. It's time to reset. Hello and welcome to Take Back Time. My name is Penny Zanker. And as you know, on this show, Take Back Time, what are we looking to do? We're looking to help you to work smarter. That's the name of the game. And today I'm excited to have someone who thinks smart and is going to help you work smart. His name is Damon Burton. And Damon, over a decade ago, Damon Burton, a husband, father of three, he beat a billion-dollar company by outranking their website on Google. Ooh, we all want to do that. From then on, he realized that he was onto something great. And he went on to build an international search engine marketing company that worked with Inc. 5000 and Shark Tank featured companies alike. And having started his business right before the 2008 recession, Damon's familiar with navigating the growing businesses during confusing times, including tripling revenue during the recent pandemic. Since founding the company, SEO National in 2007, Damon's been featured in publications including Entrepreneur Magazine, Forbes, BuzzFeed, and USA Weekly. And he helps big and small companies make more in a month than they used to in a year. Well, give me some of that. I like some of that. Well, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate the intro and the hello, and looking forward to talking.
Yes, you got into this because you beat this billion-dollar company on Google. Now, Google's always changing, right? We all know that as well. Let's start there. Like, you've had a great history. What do you say to somebody who says, but it's always changing, and how do you know what's coming up next? I'm sorry, I'm hitting you with like the really hard question first.
No, it's a good question. It's actually simpler to answer than most people expect. So you are correct that technically Google updates algorithms on a regular basis. It can do small updates often daily, but the big ones are maybe every couple months. But if you really simplify SEO, let me give a quick context for people that might not be familiar with SEO. So it stands for search engine optimization. Your goal is to get your website to show up higher in the search results for words that you can monetize, but you do it without paying for ads. You do it by increasing the credibility of your website. When you talk about these algorithm changes, if you focus on three simple things in the world of SEO, you don't have to get distracted by the algorithm. That's the problem that people run into, is they get too caught up in trying to game the system. But if you just look at it from three core pillars, one being how good or bad is your website built? So for example, does it load quickly? Is it mobile friendly? Two is content. You can only show up on Google for what it can read. So do you clearly communicate the services and products you offer and why you're better than the competition? And then third and last is external credibility. So it's kind of like a popularity contest. Do other websites mention your brand? Do they link to your website? And each of those links counts as a vote towards that popularity contest. Out of all these algorithms, in the 17 years I've had the agency, every time one rolls out, I've never had a client get penalized, get dinged. Worst case scenario, they're neutral, but more often than not, they're positive and up as a result. So if you just simplify it and focus on solving the problems of your audience and presenting yourself as the authority that you are, then you don't have to get caught up in what's changing and when.
That is so great. I love that answer, because so often we make things more complicated and complex than they need to be. And also, you're right. So many people are trying to game the system. Give me the shortcut. And that's in anything in life, right? And the fact is that in so many areas in life, there just is no shortcut. You got to do the work. And if you know what matters for that objective that you're achieving, it can be much simpler if you just focus on those things that matter. That's bam, drop the mic right there.
Thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, nice to have you. That being said, which one of those three is most important?
That's a good question. When you talk about which one's going to influence your visibility and get you showing up higher, it's going to be the latter two. It's going to be the content and credibility. But the thing to keep in mind is your content and your credibility will only be effective if you have a solid built website. So for people that are like new to SEO, a good place to start is make sure that your design is simplistic. Just like you said, too often we overcomplicate things. And consistently, in my experience, tons of countless studies, the most simple minimalistic designs outperform the most visually appealing designs. And the reason why is because the more fancy stuff we add, the more we complicate and dilute the message. Start by having a really clean, clear website that in the call to action only have what you want the customer to see. Don't add an image unless it serves a purpose. Don't add another wall of text unless it serves a purpose. You want to keep it simple so that your users and visitors only find the thing that you want them to sign up for or buy. Now, once you have your design done, then you put that behind you. No matter what you focus on long term, you have to have a solid foundation. But after that, where I usually tell people to start is on the content side, because most of us in entrepreneurship get in because we either have the coolest thing in our market or we're the most passionate about it. So depending on one of those two things, share that in your content, explain why you have the best benefits for your product or service, or why you created it, or why it serves a purpose and how it can solve the problem of your audience.
Do you have to keep feeding that engine? So like, is it enough to have a bunch of static pages, or do I need to have a blog that goes out every week, month, quarter?
Yeah, great question. So a little bit of both. So you need some baseline content. The way that I like to describe it is you need some core pages. And so those core pages are going to be what some people in the industry will call your money pages. So those are the pages that generally don't change a lot. So your homepage, your product page, your service page. Once you get those locked in, then you can kind of keep them as is. But the reason why ongoing content is important because that content needs to link to and reference those money pages. So those are like supporting assets. And then Google will also look at it and go, well, Penny writes consistently, and so she must be more of an authority and a thought leader in the industry. So let's position her higher. And then there's also a shelf life to content. Most of the stuff that you put out, regardless of the industry, has a lower probability of being evergreen. Some stuff can last a couple of years, but eventually it becomes outdated and slightly irrelevant. There is value in consistency, but the key is quality. Usually people ask, how much should I write? How often? How long? There's no such thing as too much good content. Write as much as you can up until it comes at the expense of either quality or your sanity.
I like that last one, the sanity. Got to spread your activities around. What about ChatGPT is a pretty good writer, and people are thinking, well, why don't I just get ChatGPT to write my blogs? Is there any downside to that? Is Google checking?
There's a couple of considerations. So I don't think I have to talk about why AI is cool and appealing, but what you do want to pay attention to, I don't think enough people are talking about the quality control that you want to consider. If you can scale your content using AI and maintaining quality control, sure, have at it. But the opportunities and the gaps that start to be exposed are, one is that AI in its current model is largely what would be called a content spinner. And so it's taking and repurposing content, shuffling around synonyms, and it's aggregating things that already exist. And so what happens is you have an opportunity for factual inaccuracies. Now that's going to be more applicable to certain markets, maybe medical and legal and things like that. But then what happens is you also miss the opportunity to tell your own unique story, right? Because this is all based on repurposed content. So I think what's going to happen is Google came out with an algorithm update years ago in 2011. It was called Panda. And what Panda focused on was mass-produced, low-quality content. There's programs that are out there, they're still out there, called spinners. You paste in text, and people used to take content from Wikipedia or their competitors, and it would rearrange the paragraphs and swap out synonyms to create quote-unquote unique content. In AI's current version, it is largely just a better spinner. At some point, there's a good probability that Google will be able to identify a lot of these patterns. And then with that might come, we'll call it Panda 2.0. I think Google's trying to play catch up here, but they certainly have some historical experience with trying to identify this type of scaled content.
I think anyway, you want to bring your unique brand message, right? And that hopefully will have you not just using content that you're getting from a tool like that, but it certainly helps to make it a little faster, structure some ideas and things like that. I definitely see some huge benefits for that.
Yeah, if you want to use it for ideation, I think that's fine. But when it comes to the actual content output, that's when you want to start to pay a little more attention to, does it bring unique value or align with your brand messaging?
Do you use AI for anything else in your world today?
Not in my agency, no. We'll use it for the ideation, but that's even kind of like a safety net where it's after we've already gone through our other processes to go, what kind of stories can we tell to align with buyer intent? We have other tools that digs through data and says, for example, here's what people are already asking about this industry that our clients in. So then we can align the topics with pre-existing search demand and buyer intent. And then from there, we can kind of leverage it between like you said, what's the customer's unique story? If you think about the mega brands that have survived decades or maybe even centuries, like we'll say Coca-Cola or McDonald's, it's their brands are not embedded in our head necessarily because of the quantity of the stories, but the quality and the uniqueness of the stories. It gives people the opportunity to stand out. Where so many people are embracing AI, if you can come in and tell your own unique story, it gives you an opportunity to stand out a little bit more.
Absolutely. I don't know what I don't know. What should I be asking you that I haven't asked you yet?
If we're talking about SEO specifically, usually the next thing is like, how long am I in this for? All these different types of marketing have advantages and disadvantages. But the biggest thing to understand about SEO is realistic expectations. Like when we're talking about those three areas of structure, content, credibility, the logistics behind making your website load quicker, making the design work well, making it mobile friendly, it just takes time. If you're in it for a quick fix, SEO is probably not the right solution. But if you can commit to enough patience and time, it generally has a larger audience pool that you can tap into. And then the other cool thing about organic search is that these people sought out to solve a problem or buy a thing. And so the intent is higher on search engines. So the conversion rates are usually higher. We can talk about different things like that, but you had a great intro at the beginning where it talks about work smarter, not harder. We can segue into, I'm a big family man, as you mentioned, a married father of 3. I'm a big fan of carving out personal time, and for better or worse, I live and die by my calendar. But I think that's also, the more strict you are with the time, the more freedom it actually buys you. So it's kind of a little bit of a contradiction, but maybe we can talk a little about that.
Tell me about that. So tell me how you organize yourself to run your business and at the same time get that quality time with your family to feel balanced.
Whatever it is that your priorities are in your life. So in my case, it's, my wife and kids. Take and position them first in your availability. So an example for me is, my kids are all younger. And so what I do is I block off 7:30 a.m. to 9 a.m. And so no matter what, nobody can get on my calendar at that time. And then I do the same thing in the evening. So between 3 and 3:30, 3:34, then I have the opportunity to go pick them up or walk home with them from school. That allows you to prioritize the things that you want, whatever those things may be. And then it makes it really easy to identify the opportunities in between that you can knock out the rest.
Good strategy, right? Because you've blocked it out. It's non-negotiable for you. I can tell that that's a non-negotiable.
For sure. Yeah. We go a step farther where it's like, and I apply the same thing to my team. I encourage them to do the same thing in their availability. Like all of our auto attendants on our voice lines, they automatically close off at 5. We go as far as adding in our contract. We have a full page in our contract that says reasons not to hire us. It's really good when you can communicate that to your clients where you establish those boundaries, because newer entrepreneurs will get scared with this concept of establishing boundaries, and they think that I need to be available at all times for everybody. But what happens is you end up burning yourself out. And the more you burn yourself out, the less willing you are to deliver a good product to that client. And oftentimes you get annoyed, and so you under-deliver. But when you establish a boundary, you can deliver your quality. But then I get more compliments than anything on that contract that says, here's the reasons not to hire us, because it positions you as the authority. So then you become more trusted, which creates a better engagement.
Yeah, and I think when we set boundaries, people respect it. And it makes them think, I should be setting these kind of boundaries. Like, this is a great idea. So I think that's a really clever, I have never heard that in your contract with your customers, you are very clear as to what your boundaries are. That's powerful, right? Like I said, they're non-negotiables. And I think that's the thing to communicate, because what happens is people do that and they'll block some time off, but then they allow a negotiation and then just this once, I'll let it in. And then it becomes twice. And then before you know it, that time isn't blocked off anymore.
Great point. Whatever boundaries you define, you have to make sure you reinforce them as well.
It's like a crack in the windshield. It starts with just a little point, and then it sort of starts to go out everywhere and take over everything. Yeah. That's what happens, a crack in our discipline and our boundaries. Do you have any other app? Everybody's got sort of their favorite app that saves them time, not calendar or those types of things, which I know are hugely valuable. But is there one thing that just you use it every day because it helps to save you time, be more efficient? There
is. I use an app called Things. Things is an app that's specific to the Apple ecosystem. What I like about Things is you can have it on your computer, you can have it on your phone. But what it does is it's a really simple tool to catalog tasks, and you can prioritize them, you can set due dates and things like that. But what I like about Things is, one is that it's simplistic, it's minimalistic, so it's easy to use. But a good way that I use Things is, how most of us, we're sitting there and it's time to call it a day. You lay down and then there's that thing you need to remember to do tomorrow. And so you repeat it in your head so you don't forget it. And then you end up ruining your sleep because you're constantly thinking about this. Things is great because then you can just hurry and type it in your phone, get it out of your head. And then when I come to my desk in the morning, they sync together. And so it automatically sends it to my task list.
Great. Things. Check it out. What else? What would you say otherwise is sort of your key to success and thinking smarter?
It depends on what position you're in entrepreneurship. In the beginning, I think we're all generally financially motivated. And so things evolve as you get further down in your career. At some point, hopefully you get fortunate enough to get your base needs met and have some disposable income. And then that really gives you some breathing room. And so after you have that, then you start to reevaluate where you are and what your goals are and really the why of why you're pursuing entrepreneurship. Your path and your interests are going to change depending on where you're at on that scale. For me, the biggest thing is freedom of time at this point. So, and then I like to bring my team along with me. And so I'm always trying to encourage them to implement the same things, implement the boundaries and prioritize family. And so for me, it's a position of, I think impact is more of my focus these days.
And so what's something that you're working on that meets that bigger impact need?
We just wrapped up a big charity, so I'm taking a breather right now. So as of the time we're recording this, it's around Christmas time. And we just did a big charity, my wife and I, where we rented a big venue, brought in Santa Claus himself, and then we did gifts for 50 kids in the area that are underprivileged. And so that was a big thing that took a long time and was a big time commitment and emotional commitment. So right now I'm just enjoying the completion of that and taking a breather.
Is there anything else that you wanted to share with us today that I didn't ask you yet?
We can kind of wrap up with some important simple things with entrepreneurship. It's important to give yourself the freedom to not know the answers, especially with social media. It's such a highlight reel these days where we see all these people with success stories. And there's some great quote out there by somebody that's along the lines of overnight success generally takes 10 years. And there's a lot of truth to that. Social media, we see probably year 11. And so it looks like it was overnight success. When we go through this journey of entrepreneurship and we see all these other highlight reels, kind of gives us imposter syndrome. We want to catch up and we want to close the gap of success. We make what we are unknowingly premature decisions. And so one thing I think that's supported me with my career is giving myself the freedom to not know the answers and to explore and kind of, I guess you'd say, A/B test throughout different opportunities and see which positions I liked and didn't like. And then from there, kind of double down on the paths in which I did like. And certainly there's ways for people to find freedom of time and financial success quicker, but usually it's not as sustainable. Don't feel obligated if you don't know the answer. And just acknowledging that alone often gives you a little bit of breathing room.
For sure. I remember one time in my career, I was doing a shift. I just moved from Europe to the United States, and I was trying some things out, some different things that I was doing, speaking a little, I was coaching here, I was doing some different things. And I remember my brother, he was like, you need to be more focused. You need to really pick a lane and stay in that lane. And I thought, and he gave me that feeling of imposter syndrome, I'm not doing what I should be doing. And I started to get all worried about it. And I woke up the next morning and I felt just completely at peace because I was like, no, I don't need to know what that next step is yet. That's why I'm trying all these different things to see what connects, what fits. And then it wasn't shortly after that you find your path when you give yourself the ability to play a little in different areas and not to take it too seriously, right? He was so putting all this seriousness on me. And I was like, that wasn't going to do it. That's the first thing that come up when you said that. I can really relate that there are times where you just need to try different things and that's okay.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately you're going to find success when you find that lane to stay in, but you need to be confident in which lane you choose.
Because if you choose the wrong lane because it was someone else's lane or it was someone else's thought that you should do this, or they say that you're good at it, but you really are drawn somewhere else, you need to make sure it's your right lane before you start going down it. And sometimes there's a sequence effect too. Sometimes it might not be your time for that lane.
Yeah, I agree. Find the lane that's appropriate for you and also appropriate for your chapter in life. And that lane can also change.
Absolutely. Well, great. Well, thank you so much for being here today. Why don't you tell us where we can reach you and find out more information about you, your agency, and what other things you're up to?
Yeah, thanks for the chat. I appreciate you having me, Penny. You can simply go to damonburton.com and you can find everything on there, social media, as well as a free copy of an SEO book.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And thank you all for being here. I think we talked about a lot of different things today. For those of you who are entrepreneurs, and even if you're an internal entrepreneur, right? You're working for a larger company, you can still think entrepreneurially in that way. We talked a little bit about time. We talked a little bit about SEO. A lot of good nuggets here today. Take some notes, review what's that big takeaway that you can Say, this is the thing that's going to make the biggest difference for me, and how are you going to put it into practice? My name is Penny Zanker, and this is Take Back Time. We'll see you in the next episode. Hey, thank you for spending this time with me. It really means a lot. If you're feeling a little off, distracted, overwhelmed, stuck, or just out of sync, remember that's your signal to reset. And that's all it takes, just recognizing one reset moment at a time. So stay tuned for more tips, tools, tricks, stories, strategies, all here on Time to Reset. We'll see you in the next episode.